Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zanker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello, and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zanker, and I'm your host. And as you know, we're always looking for tips and tricks to help you to take back time or really think and act and be more strategic in everything that you do. In today's episode, so that you can be your best self, your authentic self. So I'm excited today to have Leib with us. She is an experienced executive coach and businesswoman who has her sole purpose is to align leaders with their most authentic selves, which unlocks their ability to create huge impact in the world and, of course, huge productivity. And she helps companies to see that when you take care of your people, you take care of your business. I couldn't agree more. And she's going to tell us a lot more about herself, but she's also centered her practice around her two children, Sammy and Evie, and their rescue dog, Randall. And she's an executive MBA and her professional coaching certification. So without further ado, Annie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Penny. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
So authentic self. So taking care of yourself and being our authentic self. That's the big buzzword lately, is this authenticity.
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly to you? Because I think there's a lot of hype around it. And I think that people are authentically fake, even when they say they're being authentic. So, so what does it mean to you to be authentic? And let's start from there.
So that's a great question. And I do think I'm just going to put it out there. I think the word is overused. And I think that it's used where people really don't understand what it means. So I agree with you in that regard. But I will tell you that my whole mission and purpose is to get people and guide them to their most authentic selves. When I say authenticity, I'm talking about someone that knows who they are, knows their core values, knows their why, their mission, their purpose here on earth. When you can figure out these things, I can explain this later, but I have this modality I use called the breath framework. And when you can figure out where you are, where you want to go, who you are, and who you want to be, those things can be woven together and you can find your authentic self. And that can help you to be the most productive version of you.
So it's kind of like when you put your time and energy into things that are most important to you. I'm just using different words, but tell me if I'm getting this right. That when you're focused your time and energy on the things that are really important to you, not to your parents or to someone else who's decided this is your path, but really to you, then you're able to be at your happiest. Is that?
I agree. Agreed. Yes, okay. Totally. And when you can really dig and find that true self, because you're right. So many people walk around and they're living up to what their parents wanted them to do, or their siblings or their best friends. And it's not who they really are. And how can you be full and content and healing and evolved and all of those things and get everything done that you want to get done if you're not truly you? So people just sort of walk around on this treadmill, and I help them to get off of that treadmill.
Okay, interesting. I thought people are throwing around the use of authenticity also in terms of a little bit of vulnerability, right? They're mixing those two things up and they think, oh, if I share something about my life and my heart, that's going to make me authentic. And sometimes like there's this overshare on social media. It's like it doesn't feel authentic to me. So I just wanted to get your thought about that. Like, are we misusing the word and trying to use it to manipulate a little bit?
I think some people are. And I think some people do share too much. I happen to be a sharer, but I don't consider myself an oversharer. But I do believe there is a piece of vulnerability, especially in what I do, that when I do share a piece of me, and I share a lot on LinkedIn, I have a pretty engaged following, but I'm not like I'm not like a Facebook, Instagram person. I just really focus on that one platform because that's what works for me. But I have found that when you can really share who you are, and I share about my kids, I share about my dog, I share about past successes and failures and what's going on currently, and stuff that gets the most interaction and engagement that people really, truly grasp onto is when I am the most authentic me. And that's when I really put myself out there. So I know what you mean, that people do overshare, but there's a fine line. And you have to learn sort of how to navigate that when you're sharing on social media, I think. And it takes some time.
Yeah. And I guess I just felt like, I think it's part of what you do, right? So it's also then natural that you're going to do that. It just felt like in certain contexts, like I'd see people, I don't know. And maybe that's just me. And maybe I shy away from, maybe I should share more. I do share some private things too. I think your stories are powerful and they help people to connect with you and to connect with whatever they're looking to find in themselves, because they seek their stories in your story. But I guess, I don't know. Sometimes it just felt like it wasn't genuine.
To what you're saying, I agree with, in that if it's not authentic to you, if you're sharing because you think you have to share and you're telling a personal story that you don't really want to tell, that's going to show. So I think the more you align with who you are, then what might be comfortable for me to share may not be for you, and vice versa, right? So you have to be really aligned with that authentic self in order to toe that line with sharing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I'm hearing you say is that what's authentic to me is going to be different than authentic to you. So people shouldn't feel that if you want to get followers, you have to share all of these types of things. I think that's important also to understand, is that it's finding that comfort level for each of us.
Absolutely.
Cool. So let's go back to something that you said, a question came up. So you said that you help people find when people are authentic, when they know their purpose on this earth and that type of thing. How do you know if you know your purpose on this earth?
I can tell you that you have to start with when you don't know it. It starts with, wait a minute, I don't really know why I'm here. Rather than I just fall into, I know what my purpose is, right? Like I have more people that I kind of talk to them right away and they're like, I don't know what my meaning is. I don't know what my purpose is. And I'm like, perfect. You're my perfect person that I want to talk to, because that's what I do. And that's what I find passion in, because I didn't understand my purpose and meaning. And then when I found executive coaching and realized that this is besides my children, but this is one of my reasons, my mission in life is to help people and guide them toward this self-actualized person that they've actually never known. How do they uncover who they really are, what their core values are, what makes them them? That's my mission and purpose. That's where all my passion is. So
we can't hear it. I'm just kidding.
Once I found that, I knew that I didn't have it before, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and you know, I pose these questions because I know there's a lot of people listening and they're like, oh, I think it's really important to understand and connect to a higher purpose, your higher purpose. Because like you said, that's where passion comes from. That's the biggest problem with the Great Resignation, in my opinion, is we're just disconnected. We are so disconnected from ourselves, from each other, even though we have tools that connect us more than ever. We're not connected. We're living in a state of distraction.
We're the most connected we've ever been and the most disconnected we've ever been in this. Yeah. It's crazy.
At the same time. Exactly. So I think there's a lot of people that want to know desperately and want to have something that they're passionate about. But I think Adam Grant, he did a TEDx during the pandemic about meh, right? Yeah. There's a lot of people in this meh state and they don't really know. So if somebody doesn't know or they're not connected to it, what's a tip that you could give us for people to take that first step?
I did another podcast earlier today and I was asked a similar question. I have two answers. One might be like an eye roll answer, but I always if you want to just start something free and on your own, start journaling. Even if you're I hate to stereotype, but most of my men are I don't journal. I don't want to do that. Even if you feel that, just sit down with a pen and paper and I don't care if you write about your chicken nuggets for dinner or if you write about your trauma from when you were 6 years old. It doesn't matter. I just want you to write. And it's incredible what you find out about yourself when you just free write. Make it a habit. Do it for 5-10 minutes each morning and see if you can do that for a week and see what comes out of it. I can't really guarantee, but I've never heard someone come back to me and say, I just sat there and looked at the blank page. Just start writing about anything. So that's the first step. The other thing is if you really want to invest in yourself, then find a coach like me. Find someone who their purpose and their meaning in life is to help you find yourself. Because there's many of us, and I don't believe in competition in my business. There's plenty of business for everybody. Plenty of people need help. So I will tell you that there are many people that feel this passionate about coaching people and helping them and guiding them. And that is a really great investment because that's all I do. All I do is help executives find their true selves. That's to say it in one short sentence. There's obviously a lot more, and the fact that I can do that and I have a track record of doing that, like if you don't feel that that's something you'd want to do, talk to people who've done it. I bet you it might turn you around. So like a lot of people might be skeptical. Like, what are you going to say that I don't already know? Right. But talk to people, see who's had a coach that's really helped them. And I bet you'll find out something that'll make you excited to do it.
Okay. So find a coach and do some journaling.
Yep.
So obviously we're not going to end it here because you said, okay, go find a coach. And then we've got nothing to talk about, right? Over the years, I've heard a lot of different interesting ways to approach looking for what drives your passion. One thing that I've heard that's really interesting is what's the one thing that you can't not do?
Okay.
Like you try not to do it, but you can't not do it. Like I'm sure if I took coaching away from you, you can't help but do it. Everyone you talk to, you probably coach because it's what you do, right?
I'll give you an example, Penny. I really don't want to watch football. Okay. I'm like the son my dad never had. Like I really would like you to take that away from me. But no matter what I do, I am drawn to this sport. It makes me crazy, passionate, and insane. I can't rip myself away from the game. I want to be one of those people that goes shopping on Sundays and doesn't know there's a football schedule, but I can't. So I know exactly what you mean about that.
Exactly. There you go. That's funny, right? Because it's in your DNA.
You can't take it away from me.
So that's interesting, right? And I think that we can get clearer on what our passions are when we think about the things that we can't not do.
One other point I want to add to that is I do a fulfillment exercise. That's one of my exercises that I give to a fairly new client. And we talk about, and there's some questions, in-depth questions I ask, but really, truly, when was the last time you were fulfilled? And 50% of people say they don't remember, which saddens me. So I want to help them get to that place. But the other 50% can really close their eyes and tell me and describe to me. And I say, like, describe the taste, describe the feel, describe the smells. When was the last time you were really fulfilled? And usually that will have a theme or a woven into it, some sort of thread that I can say, okay, do you hear what you just said? That's something you're really passionate about. And then we can sort of bring that into meaning and purpose. So, I mean, it takes a little while. It takes a couple sessions, but that's sort of where I've started before with them.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense, right? Again, it's from the same kind of thing is to tap into what we already have insights into it. We just don't know how to access it, right? It's there. We know that there's times we felt passionate about something, enjoyed doing something, felt fulfilled in the work or the play that we do, and how to uncover that for sure. So tell me what's the connection between our authentic self and finding that purpose and feeling productive and in that context and being able to really be strategic about the way that we approach our life as a result of knowing that?
So I think if you really do the work and you find your authentic self, you're going to align the rest of the areas in your life. So the things like focus, productivity, managing time, all of those things are going to become more aligned when you find out who you really are. So when you can align, like that's the best word I can use, sort of come meet you where you are, if you will, figure out who you are and meet you there. Then all the other things are going to line up. You figure out your core values, you figure out your purpose here, you figure out what's controlling you and what you're trying to control. This is the sort of modality that I've learned. When you get all those things in order, the other things fall into place.
Definitely. I like the word alignment. I think it absolutely fits and helps us to, when we're aligned, it's like being in flow, right? You're aligned, then things flow, right? When things are unaligned, you're more distracted, you're more just tends to be that things don't feel easy, right? Doesn't work.
I'll give you an example. If you start off your day, every day, with one thing that you do every single morning is you sit at your desk and you have a notebook and you write down a few things that you're grateful for, okay? Every day. Your day is going to start with that. And that's your routine and that's your habit. And that's a beautiful way to start your day, right? You might do it so much that you might feel a little off if you don't do it one day because you've started this routine and this habit. And it's a beautiful thing that you've brought into your life because you start to really think like, I'm really grateful that that happened because of this. And if that didn't happen, then, and you just start to look at life a little different. That's one of the ways that I've become more productive and being able to strategically manage my life better because I was not the best time manager. But that's something where I start the day with gratitude. And when I do that, everything just sort of shifts into alignment. a little bit easier than if you just get up, hitting your alarm, you're waking the kid.
Right.
Give yourself some extra time to breathe. Things sort of go and flow, like you said.
Absolutely. I've been doing that for 15 years consistently, writing down what I'm grateful for. After a horrific, difficult time in my life, that's when I implemented it, when I needed it the most. And I just continued to practice because it does. It changes what you look at, right? How you start your day sets up the energy for the whole day. So I'm in 100% agreement with that. And I believe that gratitude is connected with meaning. So tell me what you think about this. So I believe that we're not truly seeking balance in our lives. You know how everybody talks about balance, I have to find this balance. I think we're seeking meaning. And when we find meaning, balance will be a byproduct of finding meaning.
That's exactly what like. You're just saying it in different words. When you do those things and you find your purpose and your meaning, everything else aligns, right? You get it. You naturally become more balanced. You naturally become more focused. You naturally become more productive. Things flow better in your life when you figure out who you are. When you figure out who you are, you know your meaning, you know your purpose, you know why you're here. And so many people just go on this treadmill or this hamster wheel, whatever you want to call it. Right. And they just go through life and they're not present and they crave presence. And it's like, I have to bring people just like, I'll pull the back of their shirt kind of like over Zoom, pull them back for a minute and just come back here for a second. You're already over here. Come just back here and talk to me. So when we can bring ourselves back to center, everything else kind of flows.
Totally. Well, good. We're aligned, you and me. So that's good. You mentioned earlier that something I'm working on with my new book. So I'm interested to talk to you about it. You mentioned control. Mm-hmm. So in my new book, I'm talking about control and how actually I think that it's our relationship with control and its natural biological and psychological part of our system, right? At every level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that it's also the source of almost all of our stress.
Yes.
So let's talk about control.
In my breath framework, so that's my coaching modality that I created. So it's an acronym. So B is for begin where you are. R is reclaim your power. E is excavate your core values. A is allow, not control. T is through, not around. And H is heal or healing. So one of my biggest steps in my coaching program is to allow, not control. And what it looks at is all the ways that we're trying to control every aspect of our life. And how if you just learn to start with baby steps, one or two things, just relinquish a little bit of that control that you're putting on everything. Life will flow a little bit better. Things will be a little bit more aligned. You will get more of what you want when you loosen your grip.
So let's talk about that. So, because there's people who they don't realize that they're in this control trap, right? Because it was something that was like an aha for me is like, well, wait a second. If I look at all the different things that create stress, it's all when we're trying to put an excess amount of control on something, or just the opposite of apathy and exerting control from pretending that there's no control, like withholding and things like that. That's also a form of control, right? It's just not recognized as that. So now let's say people are listening, they're like, oh, now they're woken up to this. What is something that they can do to let go of that grip or to loosen that grip a little bit?
I'm going to go back to my original statement, which was it starts with some of that free writing and journaling. That's a really good first step because I'm not giving you an assignment. Okay. I'm not giving you even a prompt. I'm just saying I want you to go with a pen and paper and just free write what's on your brain. When you can get some of that out onto paper, it's like, I don't have any clinical studies, but I'll tell you, like, I feel like I've proven this with people that when you do that, you actually mind dump. And then you're able to breathe for the rest of the day a little bit differently. So you're able to sort of loosen your grip on all those other things because everything is becoming in alignment, which you and I have been talking about this whole time. So your productivity is more. You are not being so uptight. You're relaxing for a minute by getting the stuff off your brain and onto paper. So that's like a really good first step in my book too. And there's obviously more work, you know, that we need to talk about why you're controlling these things and what does it make you feel like to control those things? And what does it make you feel like to not control those things? Because the T in breath is for through, not around. And what I mean by that is you're actually sitting in your discomfort because some of the allow in the A is going to make you feel uncomfortable because you're not used to it. So when the next step is to go through and sit in the discomfort and go, it's okay to not feel so perfect all the time. It's okay to not feel like I have every single thing measured and in control all the time. Actually, it's really okay. I'm okay. And sit in it. And so that's part of my process too.
Cool. I'm just processing.
I know I'm giving a lot of it.
So you said the journaling is that mind dump. So that makes sense for people who are listening, right? And they've followed any different time management techniques. David Allen has a technique where he just has you dump it all out.
Yep.
So that you have space. So that makes sense, right? It's just another way to release, to let go, free yourself of the worries or whatever's on your mind.
Well, I heard this quote the other day that said, let go or be dragged down. And it's so true. Think of yourself holding onto the back of a car, right? Like you have to let your hands go or it's going to drag you. That's just the way it works. So it made me think of that. Every time I try to control something, I think of myself on the back of a car and like, I'm not going to let this car drive away with me hanging on the back. I'm going to let go and I'm going to control that. But you know what I mean? So I think of that in my head and I start to when I start to get controlling, because everybody does, I don't care. Unless you're like a Buddhist monk, you're going to be trying to control something.
Oh, absolutely, because it's a need. We are all control freaks. It's a fact.
In some ways we have to be. I have to make sure my kid eats dinner, but it's not probably going to be in my time frame. Like it's, so I'm trying to control that. But like we have to sort of be able to just, and that's why I don't say let go at first. I say loosen the reins, which is what I said earlier. Just loosen a little bit. You don't have to be white knuckling everything. So when I can get people to take that first step to just loosen their hands a little bit of their grip, baby steps is huge with me. I'm not in a life overhaul in 2 months. I'm into baby steps.
Well, without the loosening, so it has to come before the let go, right? So when I did some behavioral psychology and those studies, that was the first thing that we learned was to help somebody just to loosen their grip, right? And I remember my trainer, he'd come at you with a pen and he'd go, take this from me, yank it. And he's holding it back, right? And you're pulling. And so there's this complete tug of war. And he's like, as a coach, like you are, you're never going to help anybody to move forward if you don't get them to loosen their grip. So that has to be the first, right? I loved he used all these kinds of cool and fun
analogies, great
analogies and things that you'll never forget. Like I'll never forget that because it makes total sense. And the minute it's also our human nature, you ask somebody to come up and say, take this from me. And they try to take it and the person won't let go and they keep tugging at it, right?
Yep.
So instead of just letting go themselves and being like, okay, well, if you don't want to give it to me, right? Then it becomes this tug of war. And what a metaphor for life that really is, that we don't even, when we see that someone else isn't going to let go, we keep tugging.
Yep, exactly. And it's so counterproductive to what you think, what your brain tells you should be doing. Grab it, hold it tight, pull it toward you. When really it's just like, don't be a slave to it. Let it go.
Right. Interesting, right? We could sit here and talk about this all day, but unfortunately, my listeners, I think their attention span, is probably about 20 to 30 minutes. So we're almost at that point.
Totally.
So I like to ask everybody, what's your definition of productivity and why?
Productivity to me is when you can lay your head down on the pillow at night and say, I did okay today. And why is because I'm never going to get every single thing done. I'm always going to have more to do. But if I beat myself up for it, that's not being productive to me. So productivity is crossing things off the list and being able to lay down at night and saying, I got a lot done. I'm good.
Yeah.
And if you can sit and your soul is settled and you're laying on the pillow and you're like, all right, I did today. All right. Then I feel like you've been productive.
Awesome. Thank you. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you feel like my listeners should hear, or one last?
I just think that one last tidbit I'll say is freedom is a really important word to me. And we didn't touch on that at all. But when you are bound to schedules, and we all are to a certain extent, but I mean like control and suffocating yourself on trying to get things done, that's not productivity. Right. So when you go with me, for example, if you're coaching me, like we go toward a place of freedom, and you're not free like gypsy running through grass and flowers. I'm saying you're free because you'll get more done if you just relax a little bit and we find this place, this zen, this flow. Some people think if they're not like this, they're not going to get anything done. But I'm telling you, go toward freedom and it will help you to become more productive.
Absolutely. That's an important word. And what that means to everybody might be different things, but definitely free from stress, free from control, free from those types of things is definitely going to make us more productive for sure.
Yes.
It's going to make us feel more productive. In my first book, I talked about that I think productivity is a feeling, like you said. And I think that's what you were aiming at, is that you put your head down on the pillow and you feel like you did something. It doesn't have to be like you did everything, but you did what you needed to do, or you'll be okay. And tomorrow's another day.
Tomorrow's a new day. Yep.
Yeah. So awesome. 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 So how can people hear more about you and what you're doing? Where do they go to?
So they can go to my website, AnnieLeib.com, and it's ANNIELEIB.com.
And that'll be in the show.
Or they can find me on LinkedIn, Annie Leib. I'm very active, and you can always message me. I'm pretty accessible. So go for it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Penny. I appreciate your time and your great questions.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you all for being here and being attentive and present. And the important thing is that you take away the word alignment that was said many times. So how you can find alignment in who you are, how you show up, and all of that will lead you to amazing results. So it sounds like we have an assignment. Take out your journal, spend 5 or 10 minutes every day for this week and just see how it works. See what you find out, what you notice about yourself, what that does to your stress level, and let me know and let Annie know what that did for you. So thank you all for being here. My name is Penny Zanker, and this is Take Back Time. I'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.